Giving all praise to Yahweh Bashem Yahushua Bashem Kakodash. Giving all praise to Yahweh Bashem Yahushua Bashem Kakodash. Now, Thun Kal Palayam Yahweh Bashem Yahushua Bashem Kakodash. Anyway, I'm back. This is, I just put this clicked on this, which is Across the Line Radio. Hebrews and Negroes creator sits down with Captain Tazaryach on the hashtag 100 side of Clubhouse. So I'm listening to this. Let me bring it back. It's actually live. You can go on it yourself. But I'll let you listen. How many minutes in is this? This is already 2 hours in, so it's well into it. Anyway, I caught this. Let me just bring it back. I'll say what I got to say. I'll listen to what he got to say.
Did you have an issue with to even take down the movie? Because they say, well, we're taking up this. Then easily you could edit it out, but the thing is, since I already passed the review process,
it's a physical person that sits down and watches your film and comes up with all these different guidelines that we can accept or reject. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it is, because back in
sounds like a priest, Danyala. That's what it sounds like.
Those days, like 50 years ago, I don't think they had AI that can just go through and detect these things.
Right. AI, now they do it before, but they didn't. Right. Exactly.
Yeah, because that was back in 2018, early 2019 is when I submitted the film to Amazon, and I mean that's a long time ago. I don't think at that time that they had some kind of algorithm that could detect anything in the movie. Because remember, if you're looking at the quote that's in the movie is part of the screen. I'm not saying it. Well, I think I am saying it, but it's in the screen and it's scrolling down, and it says the 5 points. Unless if you're a AI and you're supposed to look out for words like 6 million, or Adolf Hitler, I don't think that they had that technology back in those days. What happened was I think that somebody actually had to sit down and watch it, because when I used to eat for them every month, so I would want to know what's going on, why it's taking so long. And they said that this is what they said in the email: we have a lot of movies that we have to review, and we're going to get to your movie as the order. So they said this whole tight. People are going to review your movie, and when they review it, then we'll give you an answer on if it's accepted or not. So people actually do review your movie.
Right, I figured that it was kind of a question why I wanted you to say that, because that means that when they watched the film at that time, when they saw it, nobody saw nothing anti-Semitic. This is like a fake narrative that's been pushed down. But the people that watched it at the time saw nothing wrong with your film, no anti-Semitism, no hatred, no nothing. Now all of a sudden, because there's a narrative to be pushed, that's what everybody's saying. That's why I asked you that. It was on purpose.
Yeah. Have you submitted it to like Netflix and different outlets like that?
I submitted to Voodoo, and they said no. I submitted to different distribution companies that produce films that we see on Netflix and Voodoo. Usually, when you look at a film in the beginning, it'll tell you who's it being distributed by, like Monkey Paw or Rapid Pictures. It'll tell you got what they gave you, and you got to keep your mouth shut. And Netflix says you working on something else, we'll pay you for your next movie or your series, and we might pay you higher this time because we made X amount of dollars off of you with the first movie, and now you got a slick movie that people really like. Now we're going to help you either fund the movie through Netflix Films or Studios, or we're going to pay you more money for your next movie.
Hey, I got a question real quick for you and anybody else who would want to answer. What are your thoughts on Adidas, a brand that was
Yeah, you got to listen to this. I don't know who this brother is, but he spits fire. He says a lot of things. Now he mentions the Barclay Theater. That the Barclay Theater goes back. That family name goes back to the slave trade. So they became rich through slavery, among other things. So you know, there's a double standard with these people. They're gonna say you're anti-Sem. The real reason we all know why they're coming against Ye or came against Ye, and they came against Kyrie because they're saying that pretty much we found out we the people. Not so much, oh, this you made an anti. No, no, no. We found out we're the people. So the Most High is using these men to push this word out because they're people of influence. But let's listen to this man. I don't know who he is, but he spits some fire.
founded by Nazi, dropping Kanye West for anti-Semitism, and no one is like speaking about that. What are your thoughts to this?
Oh, I didn't know it was founded. I didn't know it was founded by a Nazi. I didn't exclusive rights to your movie or your series or your next movie or your series, and we might pay you higher.
In the Barclays Bank that Kyrie,
A brand that was founded by Nazi.
The Marshall and Netflix says, you working on something else? We'll pay you for your next movie or your series, and we might pay you higher this time because we made X amount of dollars off of you first movie, and now you got a slick movie that people really like. Now we're gonna help you either fund the movie through Netflix Films or studios, or we're gonna pay you more money for your next movie.
Hey, I got a question real quick for you and anybody else who would want to answer. What are your thoughts on Adidas, a brand that was founded by Nazi, dropping Kanye West for anti-Semitism, and no one is like speaking about that? What are your thoughts to this?
Oh, I didn't know it was founded. I didn't know it was founded by a Nazi. I had no idea. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree.
yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, that's
in the Barclays Bank that Kyrie plays for the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, they profited off of slavery too. Like it's a lot of double talking hypocrisy and all this stuff.
yeah.
So we're finding out. This is they started the dialogue. So we're gonna check everything. We're gonna cross all the cross all the I's and dot all the T's. You know what I mean? And we through the years have become research everything. We research everything. All right. There's nothing that can be hid from me. So we getting like this man.
Mm-hmm.
Again, if we're popcorn style, I don't want to dominate and ask all the questions. I definitely, it's a great opportunity. If I could just remind everybody, you're in the One West room on the 100 side. If you're not a member of the room, click that greenhouse up at the top. Make sure you follow the moderator on the stage. I think definitely Ron should be followed. For those that don't know who that is on the stage, the brother's name is Moses. He's if you refresh the screen, he's in the third row, second person. I think everybody should follow that brother if you haven't.
Yeah, the Moses Levy, that's Levi, that's Ron Dotu, that's his Hebrew name. But like I said in previous videos that I did, one earlier today and the other day or two ago, he teaches a totally different doctrine than us. We all are Israelites. He's going to get into, I want you to hear this, he's going to get into the Ezekiel 37, one of my favorite prophetic scriptures. And he speaks about the next film that he's going to make, dealing with Gog and Magog, Meshach and Tubal. And he goes into Ezekiel 38. He said, but before Ezekiel 38 takes place, Ezekiel 37 got to take place. Well, what he doesn't understand is Ezekiel 37 is taking place as of starting with the Israelites before we were even born. Abba, the ones before them, the ones after Abba, the one west, the various different groups. So that is Ezekiel 37. It's not, oh, we gotta wait. He thinks that there's gonna be some beings that's gonna rise up. You'll hear it. You'll hear it. So he really doesn't understand. He can't put this. He has a puzzle that's all not put together, and he's putting it together, but he's putting the piece, and you can clearly see he's putting it together. They got the puzzle, but the pieces are not all together. We got the pieces all together, and he doesn't. It's just facts. He knows some things, but there's a lot he has to learn, and he has to come up under somebody in One West.
Bought his book or watched the DVD, or watched it on Amazon, you definitely should click that link up at the top. It not only has the initial DVD that sparked the controversy.
See, now you got to qualify that. That's by the way, that's Captain Tazaryach talking. You got to qualify that. You can watch it, but you got to watch it with a spiritual eye, because he goes off on many things. He contradicts what we say. He doesn't believe in the tribes in America, the 10 tribes, the so-called, what we call them, Latin tribes, Gadite, Reubenite, Indian and Latin tribes, Indian and Negroid descent. He doesn't believe in that. He believes that all Israelites, the 12 tribes, are all Africans, and they all go back to Africa, which is not true. Another thing, he believes that the land of Israel is inside of Africa, meaning that if you go to a map and you look at Africa, it's inside of Africa. It's not northeast of Egypt. The land of Palestine. It's inside of Africa. So there's a lot of things that he goes off on. So if I say watch the movie with a spiritual eye. If you're new in this thing, maybe you shouldn't watch the movie. I can watch the movie because I can spit out the bones. Some of you y'all put a lot of stuff out there, but you got people that the scriptures speak about in Ephesians 4. How does it say? With every winded doctrine. Who is influenced by every winded doctrine? When a wind comes along and new doctrine comes up, they follow that. These are simple people. These are people new to the faith. These people are not grounded in.
But it also has access to part 2 as well. So that brother definitely needs to be supported. And if you have any questions, now's the time to ask the questions. I know we got
He needs to learn the truth. He needs to come up under the order of the top men that came out of One West. Because I got another thing he doesn't teach. From what I heard, I want to be fair. If you can tell me what movie that's from, you're good. Anyway, he doesn't believe in reincarnation. I believe he believes in hell. You can correct me if I'm wrong. There's a lot of things that he teaches that are different from the way we teach. All right, and that's reincarnation. That's a major part of the scriptures. If you don't understand that, then you need to learn. Oh, another thing, the UFOs. He said that the UFOs, the so-called UFOs, are not biblical. And now we got to go to Africa. We got to get passports, go to Africa. And I said this in my previous videos concerning this individual. You got to get out of Babylon and go back to Africa, because Babylon's going to be destroyed. So we got to get out of here. Plus the system, and then he even goes into the beast system. Well, guess what? The beast system will be up and running in Africa. It's a world thing. When I say world, in the oikoumene sense, the whole earth. So he's lacking in a lot of things. So, for anybody to say, go and watch this video, you got to qualify it, man. You might get some of these One West guys that been in this thing maybe 6 months, a year, or even sisters out there that say, you know what, he makes all the sense in the world. We're going to go back to Africa. Every wind of doctrine. You have to be rooted and settled and grounded in.
Wack is in here, Jerry is in here, so we got a lot of good people in here. So if y'all got any questions y'all want to ask, feel free to go ahead and close it.
From the UK. How you doing, Moses? So just wondering what you're working on next, because of course it's having that sort of global impact. You said like a lot of people are waking up, and I mean, like we've had a lot of conversations over here in the UK about it. Of course, in Clubhouse, people are going crazy. Making rich people are losing their fucking hair, which is it is what it is. But what's next? What's happening next? I mean, what's the next 2 years that we're editor? So,
The next movie is breaking down the people that's in Gog and Magog's army.
Oh, by the way, Gog and Magog are all white people. That's what he teaches. The people that the descendants of the sons of Japheth are the so-called white men. So obviously, he doesn't believe that the so-called white man descended from the Edomites. So he's way off. His doctrine is just different from day to night compared to our doctrine that we teach.
So breaking down the descendants of Magog, Omer, Togarmah, Meshach, Tubal, the real Persians, not the ones that are in Iran right now.
Hey, I don't know what to say on that. The real Persians, not the ones that are in Iran right now. And the people of Iran, I met several Persians or Iranians. They look like dark-skinned Ephraimites. You would think they're Ephraimites or even Simeonites. Some of them lighter too.
The real Puttites and the real Cushites, and explaining the Battle of Armageddon and what that means and where it potentially is going to take place at, and how we can start seeing these signs happening right before our eyes. But something has to happen before that, and that is the beginning of the dry bones of Israel, because Ezekiel 37 was before 38. So the dry bones awakening and becoming a massive army, and not divided, not with our hope lost. The Bible states that we are divided and our hope is lost. But then once the dry bones of Israel comes together and becomes flesh and ligaments and tendons and skin and muscle.
He's speaking about it like it's yet to happen. It's happening in the spirit. He thinks that the way he explains it, there's going to be bones that's just going to rise up and then form like the Sinbad movies. The skeleton will fight you with the sword, or army of skeletons, and we're just going to the army, and we're going to say, "Oh wow, that's the army." No, this is the book of the prophetic books are poetic. They say things that symbolize something else, like the beast, Daniel 7. I always use that reference. The beast that's different from the others. It's not an actual beast. It's talking about a government.
Stand up as one nation, two sticks becoming one, and they become a massive army. And so that has to happen before the Battle of Armageddon, because Har's mountain or hill, and Megiddo, or the word where you see that Megiddo, it comes from the Hebrew. It means like a place where a lot of troops or soldiers or nations are going to be all in one place, ready.
Mountain of troops, hill of troops, mountain, hill meaning government, mountain of troops, that's what it means. Gad means troop.
To attack and to pillage and to steal. So this is going to happen in a place that is a mountainous, hilly area where the Israelites are going to be dwelling at, that these other nations are going to come. That's why it's called the Battle of Armageddon. In the Greek, it's Armageddon. So that's one of the things I'm working on. The other thing I'm working on is the secrets of Israel that are kept and told and known in sub-Saharan Africa, because I have a lot of connections in South Africa, Zimbabwe, Swaziland, Lesotho,
He's more, if anything, he's a researcher. He's not a prophet. He's definitely not a prophet because he would be speaking the same thing that we're speaking. Like I said, he's speaking about the dry bones getting up. There's like we go, oh, there they go. Here they come. Oh, Israel. Oh, they're all together. That doesn't mean that, man. It's being fulfilled right now. We can go as far back as Abba. We can go as far back before Abba. We can go as far back as Masha, Ariyah, Yaquab, the seven, the one west. You know, us going out on the highways and the byways is the fulfillment of Ezekiel 37. It's not no actual thing like some sci-fi movie or some monster movie. The bones are just gonna get up and walk and start killing people like this, like the zombies, you know. Night of the Living Dead.
Botswana, Mozambique, Malawi, Tanzania, Uganda, Kenya, Congo, Angola, Gabon, Cameroon, Nigeria. I mean, I got people in every country, even Ethiopia, and we're going to, in the movie, release the secrets of Israel, the true Israelites, and also shed some insight and enlightenment into the true land of Canaan and what that means. And
what he means by that is what I said earlier in the video that I'm doing right now, is that the current day land of Israel, where the small hats dwell, and some Israelites, that's not the land. That the land of Canaan is inside of the continent of Africa. We don't teach that.
And so hold on, so you don't realize it's about to go down.
So, you know, for Captain Tazaryach to say you should support the man, you should get buy his books, you should watch his movies, all that's going to do is confuse you unless you're deeply rooted in this thing. Because you got the success factor. You know, he might be a millionaire, and might, you know, it might look enticing to get with him. Oh, just like Bishop Nate with the gimmicks. A lot of people getting with Bishop Nathaniel. I give the IUIC credit. They teach a lot of truth. They teach the One West truth. There's just a few things that they go off on as far as GMS and ISUPK and IUIC, you know? One of them is a great doctrine, which we got it correct, and we broke it down. We made it clear. We made it crystal clear in the scriptures. In order for you to understand these scriptures, you have to, at times, go into the root words, whether it be in the Hebrew, whether it be in the Greek. That's what hermeneutics is all about. Hermeneutics means, and I use that term, that's a theological term, but it's used in the secular world also. Another word for hermeneutics. Hermeneutics is etymology, going into the root of the word to get an understanding, or get a better, deeper understanding.
That's all, because Satan is very crafty, and he is the master of deception, and that's what has happened over the years, decades, thousands of years. He's deceived us greatly. And one of the things that we have to really look at is that I might bring out too is the descendants of the Edomites and the Horites, because they had a union, and that union was Amalek. Amalek was half Horite, half Edomite.
There's no scripture on that. There's no scripture on that. So for Captain Tazaryach to say, support this man, go watch his movies, go read all his books, all you're going to do is get a bunch of confused Israelites with different doctrines that don't mesh. So I wouldn't recommend you to see any of his movies unless a qualified individual such as myself and others watch it and break it down, because this is going to lead you astray. You're going to question it says in the scriptures, doubting about questions which gender strife, argument. There's only one way. Ephesians, one Father, one Son, one doctrine. that we all speak the same thing.
And their ancestors are walking this earth right now. And the Bible says that God's going to wage war with Amalek from generation to generation. Like,
Now, if he's talking about Amalek as being the small hats, but the Japhetics, the people of Japhet, are also the descendants of Japhet are also, or the sons of Japhet are also so-called white people, then that would mean that Amalek is a Shemite, and the sons of Japhet are not. So this is very confusing if your eyes are not fully open and you're not grounded and settled, as it speaks of in the book of Colossians.
meaning like forever. So it's a lot of stuff that's going to come out. People ain't going to like it, but it's the truth. And people just need to look at the movie as a thinking adult with a brain. They need to just say, okay, either I believe it or I don't believe it. And everybody has a right to watch a documentary as an adult and to say, okay, there's some good points and some things I don't believe and sometimes some things I do believe in. But we're not kids, so we can't hide and suppress this information because we don't want you to see it. Like you don't want our kids to watch a rated R movie. We tell them to go upstairs. We cover their eyes. And we say you're not going to see the movie. You're not old enough. And as your parent, I can tell you what to do. But the Jewish community and the ADL and the NBA and these celebrities, they don't want you to even have that choice to be able to watch a movie as an adult with a brain and to decide what you believe is anti-Semitic. And did you get anything positive out of the movie, like educational? And do you believe it or you don't believe it? You know, at the end of the day, we have the right to have a decision. And based on the decision, what we see in the movie, it can impact our lives greatly or it may not impact our lives at all. But at least people have the right to do that.
Salaki, I know you said that you interviewed the captains, and I know you got films and things coming out. And Captain Conscious out there, he did a 12-tribe breakdown and open the platform for anybody to really come debate it. And as far as I'm concerned, nobody has even came close to even.
That's our subject,
Like, I was just gonna say, to interview you guys for the next film, for the next documentary, or whatever the case may be, as far as the breakdowns of the different tribes and different things like that. So
Not going to be another subject. That's an important question that the young man asked, because now I don't know what's going on now. I don't know what's going on here. He brings up the 12 tribe things, and I don't know if Captain Tazaryach knows whether this guy believes. Well, I know based upon the little that I watch, and I heard of this Ron Dalton, Moses Levy, years ago from the first film he put out. So we're aware of him on YouTube and so forth. But for you to stop the man from asking the question about the 12 tribes, he teaches that the 12 tribes, that the Latins and the Indians are not of the 12 tribes. That's a conflict right there. All right. So again, for you to say, go out and watch, I highly recommend that you support the man, buy his books and watch his movies. All that's going to do is bring confusion.
Well, there's a lot of things that we don't know because we have explored, Oceania, Pacific Islands, and one of the things I can say is that I have talked to and actually met people from the Caribbean that are Taino Indians, and these brothers are way darker than me, dark as African Americans, and we have to understand that a lot of the history that we have in India, in Pacific Islands, in the Caribbean, in the Americas, the history is told by the Europeans. Most of our history is told from the European lens, even in Africa. So it's up to filmmakers and others that have a passion for research and truth and interviewing people and
You can research and find the truth, and you can research and be deceived by the research that you so-called dig up. And I didn't like the fact that Captain Tazaryach cut him off on the 12 tribe thing. That's a legitimate question. That's part of this. He ain't talking about the Nat. What do you think about the Indy 500? He ain't asked a question like that. He ain't asking, what do you think about the playoffs? You know, what do you think about the World Cup? He ain't said that. He asked, there's a question that's a part of the whole subject of Israel. He asked about the tribes. Oh, we can't deal with that. Come on, man. Come on, dog. We here to teach this truth, man, not suppress it. That should be debated upon, discussed upon. What's your take on the 12 tribes? According to Ron Dalton, all right, his take, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that all the 12 tribes are so-called people, black people, woolly-haired, Negroid people. And the people from North, Central, and South America and of Indian descent, the indigenous people, are not the Israelites. That has to be discussed, man. We can't suppress anything. When it comes to the scriptures, you have to tell the whole truth. Conceal not.
So, in the remote villages, where they got mountains and hills and it's rural areas, and to get more information on certain groups of people so that the people of the world can understand their identity. Because, people in Brazil and Mexico, they're emailing me saying, how can we find out more about our identity? All we know is that we have ancestry from either Europeans, Africans, and indigenous Indians, or like Tainos. That's all they know. That's all they know. If you ask a Puerto Rican or ask a Mexican or just a Puerto Rican, they're gonna say, we know that we are a mixture of European, African, and Indian. But they don't understand the identity of the Africans, that they have blood, they have DNA, admixture, or the Indian that they have, DNA admixture. We're like a melting pot. Some people.
If you have a so-called white mother and a so-called black father, you have the DNA of both the mother and the father. But we're dealing with the spirit. We're not dealing with DNA. We're not dealing with phenotypes. We're dealing with the spirit. Judge not from the outward appearance. You're gonna have Israelites looking like Edomites, Moabites. So his take is that these people over here, the indigenous people of North, Central, and South Canada, the U.S., Central America, South America, are not the people. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
People are dark, some people are brown, some people are light. But the thing is, people need to understand their true ancestry and lineage and identity from who they descend from. Because, even in America, we have, Indian in our blood, we have European in our blood from the slave.
You can't go by descendants. You can't find in records. 23andMe and these different DNA places, they'll only go so far back. You're not going to find. Now, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong on this. I don't go by that DNA stuff. I go by the spirit. Can the DNA go as far back as 2,000 years ago? How far does it go back? So we can't go by DNA. We have to go by the spirit. And Amos 9 speaks about this a sifting. There's going to be a sifting. You're going to have Israelites looking like Edomites and Moabites and Japhites, and you're going to have Edomites looking like Israelites. So it's the spirit that's in the man.
Trades, whatnot. But for the longest, we haven't really dived into who we are as people in America, as Negroes, because Black History Month only tells us that we're descendants of slaves. And we got, we had civil rights, and we Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and here we are today. We're able to vote, we're able to get a job, we're able to go to school, we're able to have a house, we're able to drink the same pot as a white person, and that's it. But now we're now opening the door of learning about our ancestry and lineage that goes farther back than what the white man has been telling us, about who we are and where we come from.
Hey,
Yeah, I don't believe you have the tool to go that far back. I don't believe you have the tool to go all the way back to 2,000 years ago. I don't believe you have. There's no method, scientific method that I can trace my lineage all the way back to 2,000 years ago or 3,000 years ago. You can't do it. So, like I said, if anything, this man is like a Josephus or, a historian, a researcher. He's not a prophet. He doesn't show himself to be a prophet.
Moses, what do you think about a lot of our people don't even want to hear that though? Like it seems like I'm so glad I came into this room, but it's so many people. You can even look around Clubhouse. They can hear this message, they can hear the truth, but a lot of us don't even accept it. Why do you think that is, bro?
Very simple. One scripture comes to mind, Isaiah chapter 6, verse 9. Around you don't read the whole chapter, but 9th verse is the point where the Most High put a spirit on Jake. A certain number of Jakes are not going to get it, and a certain number of Jakes will get it. That certain number of Jakes that will get it are called the elect. So you waste your time when you try to talk to somebody you see they can't get it. You just move on. Shake the dust. Matthew 10.
Because everybody ain't gonna get it. Everybody ain't gonna make it. Some people are just not called. Everybody that's supposed to receive this message is gonna get the message, and they're gonna be changed from it. Those that get the truth and they deny it, reject it, then that's the way it is. We can't expect the whole world to wake up, because the whole world's not gonna wake up.
But I think if most of our black people do wake up, that's when the real change will come. And a lot of stuff won't get accepted. It's currently being accepted.
The Lord's not going to wait for Jake to turn around and wake up as a whole, because we'll be here for the next million years, lost. The Most High getting ready to take this place out, and he's gonna do away with the Israelites that don't believe, that can't accept it, which he summoned the angel to blind them any goddamn way. There's going to be a lot of death in this place and around the world. There's going to be a mass death, or you're going to be horrified and terrified.
True, but you have people that come on here.
It's going to be a dreadful and terrible day.
That say that it don't matter, endless genealogies. They will argue down to you can argue with them for 2 hours. They don't care about this Hebrew, and they'll even go on YouTube saying Ron Dog can't provide any proof that we're connected to the Israelites. They want to bring up DNA. They want to say this, they want to say that. Our DNA is not connected to Israel because these Jewish people said this and this, and they'll bring up so-called sources, and they'll say based on this, and that, that Ron Dog's movie and book is all false. So they're willing to.
His movies and his book are, they're going to give you some truth, but ultimately they're a stumbling block. I see a lot of, well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But his books and his movies are stumbling blocks. They give you some truth. They don't give you all truth. They're going to lead you astray.
Do their own research and come up with their own conclusions and bring up their own proofs. Their proofs that we're not the Israelites, and let them do that. Let them write a book. Let them make a movie proving that we are indigenous Indians or we're Kushites or whatever they believe that we are. They can do that. But more people are going to hopefully wake up to our true Israelite identity and they should, I hope that more people accept it, especially those in the Christian church, because they need to really get this message because it's very important. It's probably the only thing.
Why do they need to get the message if they're not of the elect? Most High is only dealing with the elect. When I say the elect, it starts with the 144,000, the multitude in Revelation 7, verse 9.
Help us in the long run to endure to the end, wherever we are.
Can I ask
Hi,
you
hi,
a
Marjorie.
question? Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Okay, what's up, Captain? What's up, Bombaz? I appreciated your movie, your documentary. I watched it myself. It was very informative, especially when you got into the Bantu tribes. I believe everyone should go on and take a look at it. But my question is, I know that slavery in some states, at least in the United States, that slavery is on some of the bills. And I wanted to know what you guys thought about slavery being on some of these state bills that they're trying to secretly pass. And do you guys believe that all of this mainstream propaganda about the lie, the biggest lie ever told, has to do with them trying to reinstitute slavery in the United States?
They ain't gonna institute slavery. Eh? These wild ass jakes, they ain't gonna institute no slavery. Niggas is ready to bust crackers' heads. All right? These wild ass jakes out there. You ain't gonna put no, okay, you're gonna be pass a law, you're gonna go back into slavery. Are you out your mind? Can you imagine us being in slavery? How many Edomites' throats would be cut? Jake ain't having it. And I do believe this. I believe that they abolished slavery because there was too many revolts and Jake was just getting tired of it. And they was like, F you, we gonna fuck your ass up. But this is coming from a goddamn woman. This is coming from a woman. Ain't gonna be no, first of all, she saw the movie and she doesn't even understand the scriptures. But that proved my fucking point. She said, I saw the movie, I read the books, and very, very informative. But do you think we going back into slavery? If you maybe she fell asleep at the goddamn movie. Do you think slavery's coming back? Well, I hope he didn't say it in the movie. Because if we put up a video, we're gonna tell it like it is. And that shows you that she doesn't understand prophecy. She's not spiritual. She's not grounded. She's not settled.
Only asking because I know that the United Nations put out a mandate for 100 and I believe 97 countries to reject sovereignty to those who wanted to claim so. So I wanted to ask you guys, do you guys think this is just another chess piece that they have on their board and plans? Because I know that the United States is very strategic and they map out plans over 80-year time spans. So what do you guys think about that? And Moses, thank you very much for waking up a lot more people with your documentary.
Obviously, he didn't wake you up because you thinking that we gonna go back into slavery, boss. They gonna put us back on the plantation. Nigga, you on the plantation right now.
Appreciate you. And the stage. Thank you.
That if you can make somebody a slave simply by controlling their whole livelihood. Like you're basically like their daddy. You know, the slave master provides a roof over the slave's heads in the shacks, and the slave master provided food for the slaves. Slave master allowed slaves to, have children, or he would have children with them. The slave master with, sharecropping allowed the slave to make some money or eat of the land, but ultimately fulfill his land, and he was still under the rulership of the man that owned the land.
That's all he just said. We're still in slavery. He that leadeth in captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth the sword must be killed with the sword. Who is a slave and who is a slave master? We are the slaves. This man is a slave master. He proved that. And the master or the master blaster is the small hat. He proved it by taking a man that was worth, according to him, yay. First of all, Ye called himself Ye because they took his name. He signed his name over. That's why I got a new name. Why you got a new name? Because they took your old name, man. That proves right there you're a slave. Bragging, look, I'm as rich as Mensa Musa of Mali. I'm worth $11 billion. Now they're saying you're worth about half of whatever 40 some odd million. And when they get finished bringing lawsuits against your ass, you're gonna be hanging out with Alex Jones. You know. So we're still slaves. You talking about when we going back into slavery? You still in slavery. You want to keep a nigga in slavery? Tell him that he's free. He'll be in slavery forever.
And he knew that without him, that he could not really survive. You know, because that's the way the mentality is. We got to depend on the other nations to take care of ourselves and have our livelihood. And so in America, Black people are one of the poorest people in America, and if they can collapse the economy and really put Black people in a situation where we don't have nothing, and we don't have no jobs, we're unemployed. We're dependent on the medical system, Medicaid. We're dependent on SSI, disability, Social Security. We're dependent on food stamps. We're dependent on everything, even low income housing, because we can't afford regular housing because we don't have money.
That means we're slaves. That means we're still slaves. So I don't know what this system. Are we going back into slavery? I don't want to go back into slavery. Nick, you in slavery.
Then they essentially can tell you what you're going to do, and you're going to have to either accept it or you're going to have to just live in the woods somewhere. And unfortunately, we're seeing.
How long can a Negro live in the woods? Now, them white boys, the good old boys, they live in the woods right now. Look, I've been out, I slept out in the woods, and it's not nice out there. You don't need an alarm clock. That cold air wakes your ass up at 4:35 in the morning, and it makes you want to do things so you won't be so cold. I slept out in the mountains of Colorado with no tent, just a sleeping bag with a couple other people, and with a fire stove where you had to chop wood, and I loved it, man. Oh, I loved it. Well, that's when I was young. I loved it. I loved it, man. I loved getting up there chopping woods, and we were actually in a cabin. We would sleep outside, but we actually had a cabin. So how many of you Negroes can live out how long you gonna last in the woods compared to a good old boy? Not long. And plus the scriptures say the ones of them that go up into the mountains, they're gonna eat their own flesh and drink their own blood for very thirst. That's in Second Ezra chapter 15, around about the 50th verse. Like I said, it's gonna get bad out here, man.
In a time where Black people are severely dependent on the system and dependent on these private sector companies where we're nothing like 9-to-5 slaves, and that they can tell us you need to get this and get that, or you can be fired, or they can tell us that fortunately we didn't do good the last 2 quarters, we're going to let go the whole staff or the people that were not senior.
She's right. We are going to be put into slavery through the MOTB, and that's something that Jake doesn't understand. That's something that most prominent One West Israelite camps don't understand. Either they don't understand it or they sold out, because everybody's going to have to get that charagma in order for you to buy and sell in this system. And Jake will accept it because they don't know not to accept it. They don't understand the scriptures. Like I said, certain Israelites, look, man, you're gonna have a lot of Jakes that know that the Israelites, they're gonna take that motherfucking the sea hip. They're gonna take it. Like the elder, the young elder Amawan Gabar, he had that dream. And like I said, I copied that the video they did, and I put it on my Odyssey page. He had a dream that he saw people from a lot of faces from high school, his high school years, that they all took the C hip, but then he saw brothers that were in Israel that were taking it. So if you take it, guess what? You're not of the elect. You better be prepared for death. Hey, Paul was sentenced to death, and they gave him a date to come to get put to death. And you know what? He showed up on that date to get put to death. Now the history says that that Peter, he was sentenced to death, but he ran, and he actually saw our Lord come down in the form. He said, "What are you doing here, Lord?" And he said, "I'm going to the Romans to get crucified, to get killed." And then he put his head down. He went back and he gave himself up to the Romans. Like I said, that's in the secular history. That's not in the scriptures. So he said he didn't want to accept the death of the Romans, but the Apostle Paul did. He said, "I'm sent." That's why he made that statement. Wait a minute. And it said that he was in an apartment, because back in Rome you had apartments. And he was in his apartment. They said, "You're sentenced to death. You got to come back on this date, and we're going to execute you." And he said, "No problem. I'll be back there." This is what he meant when he said in the scriptures. In the scripture here. Let me come here. Let me see. This is how I can find it. In season. Okay. This is what I wanted. 2 Timothy 4, verse 2. Preach the word in season, out of season, right? All right, for the time will come when they shall not endorse sound doctrine, but heap to themselves teachers having itching ears, and they shall turn away their ears from the truth, the whole truth, and shall be turned into fables. But watch thou in all things, endure affliction, do the work of an evangelist, make full proof of thy ministry, for I am now ready to be offered. What did he mean by that? He meant that he was sentenced to death, and a certain day he had to go to present himself, and he did that. And he was on time too. And the time of my departure is at hand, meaning I'm going to die. The Roman authorities sentenced me to death. So let me say a few words before I go and get put to death. It says, "I have fought a good fight." What fight did he fight? He was preaching the word. He was on fire. "I have finished my course." John the Baptist, his course was short, right? John the Baptist never fell out the truth. He was set up in the spirit to get put to death. He was a forerunner for the Lord. Now, Paul's ministry was a lot longer than John the Baptist's ministry. It said, "I have fought a good fight, a spiritual fight. I have finished my course. I have kept the faith." Did he say that I kept the laws? He said, "I have kept the faith. Henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which Yahweh B'Shem Shai, the righteous judge, shall give me at that day." What is that talking about? Paul is still waiting for that crown. And not to me only, but unto all them also that love his appearing. Meaning you're looking forward to his appearing. Ye prisoners of hope, do thy diligence to come shortly unto me. For Demas have forsaken me, having loved this present world, and is departed unto Thessalonica, Crescens to Galatia, Titus unto Dalmatia. Only Luke is with me. Take Mark and bring him with thee, for he is profitable to me for the ministry. So yet the Apostle Paul was still pushing this truth out, even though he was going to get put to death 2 weeks from that point or a week from that point. So he endured to the very end. He endured until he was put to death. So he definitely definitely gonna get a crown. So let's come back over here.
And you can't do nothing but just accept it and take your walking papers and just try to find a job somewhere else. And that's where a lot of people are today in America.
That's why I always speak about the CHIP, the MOTB, the charagma, ad nauseum, till it's nauseating. I always speak about it. Any article I find, I do a video on it because that's the next big thing. And I believe this individual right here, Ron Dalton, Moses Levy, he also speaks about the beast system, but he thinks if you go to Africa, you can get away from the beast system because the beast system is only going to take place in America. No, it's going to take place all around the world. The whole world's going to be tested as to whether they're going to submit to the CHIP or not.
Black. And this slavery thing, like I don't know if it's just for incarceration purposes, but more people that are without jobs, unemployed, the cost of living is more getting higher, the cost of rent's getting higher, the ability to get mortgages is getting tougher. The housing market, it's not like this abundance of housing market. Getting good interest rates, that's out the window. Food shortages, all types of things are happening right now. And Black people, being the poorest people in America, we're going to feel the brunt of all of these things that are going to happen to America. And Black people, if we start rising up and commit crime and violence and going to stores and robbing stores or looting, all that's going to do is put more attention on Blacks being uncouth, unruly, just not obeying the law. And so, more Black people go to jail. Society gets bad. The violence, when you commit violence, the cops are there to put you in jail. They put you in jail. If they have a law that states that you're technically a slave now in this prison, now we're kind of like back to slavery again. And so I think that we have to start not depending on the government, because if we don't depend on the government, then they can't truly control us. And I think Marcus Garvey said that if we continue to allow another nation to provide for all our needs, then eventually we're going to die off the people. We're gonna die off because we cannot depend.
He's coming with this. I'm getting ready to close. He's coming with this secular thing, this plan that you got to come up with. Look, don't worry about no plan. It's a Most High's plan. It's all based upon prophecy. And like I said, I'm gonna say in closing, the man, if anything, he's a researcher. He's a decent researcher, but he's not one of the elect. Unless he repents and he comes up under the tutelage of really GMS. If he comes up under the tutelage of the men of GMS, starting from the apostles on down, he'll get the whole truth and he won't be so confused. Anyway, with that, I'm gonna say, I'm not knocking the man. He knows he's an Israelite. He's teaching people that the Israelites. He's doing his bit, but it remains whether he's one of the elect or not. Could he be? We'll see. But he has to bow down. He has to be born again. He has to throw out all that stuff that he learned or picked up, and he's got to come up under the tutelage of GMS. Not ISUPK, not IUIC, not any of them, not Sakar. You got to come up under GMS because we teach the 100% truth. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom.